Well, good morning. You got a bunch of handouts, really pretty stuff. Usually that distracts from the presentation. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention. Our proposal has to do with matching funds for our Lunch Buddy program. And I want to give you a little backstory on that, and especially with regards to just mentoring in itself. So inside your folder, one of the things that's here is a study that was recently done. It's called the Mentoring Effect. And this is really a great snapshot. It's actually the most recent national survey that's been done on mentoring. And they interviewed kids between the ages of 18 and 21, so before they graduated college. They also interviewed kids that were considered at risk. And so what they wanted to find out is what's the difference of an at-risk child who has a mentor or just a regular kid that falls in that parameter. And a couple of things that I wanted to mention, and you can look at this later, is basically what came out of this is that there's always with mentoring a linked improvement to academic, social, and economic prospects. And it strengthens our communities and our nation. And so actually 2 years ago, it was Kinship Partners' 30th anniversary, and we changed our mission statement. After 30 years, it was providing positive role models and guidance to youth in our community. Yeah, I remember that one. Now it's transforming our community through the power of mentoring. And in reality, that's what this study shows, and that's what mentoring does. It does change the community. And some of the things that they found from this study is that these kids who were mentored were much more likely to attend college, graduate from college, participate in extracurricular activities, be in a leadership position in their club, volunteer regularly in their community. And at the end, one of the kind of the highlights from this is they said mentoring can be a powerful factor in reducing the number of youth disconnected from school and work, in a social economic mobility, and in creating a more productive and prosperous nation. And one of their recommendations is mentoring is an effective community resource that should be integrated into prevalent solutions meant to address school attendance, high school graduation rates, higher education rates, delinquency prevention, and workforce development. And the final one here, I don't want to take a lot of time on this. This little graphic, this little handprint, it's the first ever cost-benefit analysis that was done on youth mentoring, and it actually was done in Minnesota. So these are Minnesota results. And one of the things that they found from this, if you look, is when there's an investment into youth mentoring, there's a cost reduction in juvenile cases, truancy, there's enhanced school achievement, there's reduced tobacco use, there's reduced illegal drug use, and if you look in the middle of the hand, that's the big one. A young person's increased lifetime earnings. Kids that are mentored are guided and directed. And just to add a personal story to this, my father passed away about 3 years ago, and he was the dean of behavioral sciences at Brainerd State University for almost 30 years. He grew up in a very poor family, extremely poor. No opportunity for him to be able to go on to college or higher education. He had decided he was just going to be a blue-collar worker, and he did paper routes and did this and did that. I don't think you've ever heard this, Carl. I heard this story from my dad a couple of years before he passed away. He had Alzheimer's, and I was surprised when he even shared this story with me. And one of his friends, his name was Vic Weber, in a little town in Oklahoma called Wagner, kind of between Tulsa, Muskogee, and Tahlequah, in the northeastern part of the state. One of his friends came from a fairly well-to-do family, but he had to go to Tahlequah, which is the closest state university, northeastern state. And back in those days, to get into school, you had to be interviewed by the dean. And the dean decided whether or not you had what it took for them to invest into you. They wanted to see your character, they wanted to know your work ethic, they wanted to meet you. It had nothing to do with test scores or any of that. And so his friend didn't have a car. And my dad did, because he worked a couple of different jobs. So he asked him, would you drive me over to Tahlequah? So he did, go into the dean's office. Vic goes in for his interview. About 45 minutes later, Vic comes out. I mean, literally, if you can imagine, it's like meeting God for an 18-year-old to say, this is what's going to happen in the rest of my life. Because he wanted to get into pre-med. And Vic ended up retiring as a physician. And so he walks out of the office, and Vic gives my dad a little thumbs up and in. And so my dad's sitting there, and the dean comes walking right straight up to my father. And of course, here's this man that you just have to greet. So my dad stands up and shakes his hand, and the dean looks at my dad and he says, "So, young man, what are you going to do with the rest of your life?" And my father was just struck. He was like, "Well, I really don't know." And the dean said, "You got 45 minutes?" I took him in his office, got to know my father, and at the end of the conversation, this is the funny part, he said, "You got 35 bucks? This is 1951. My dad said, "Yeah, I can write a check." He said, "That'll cover your tuition for the first semester."
Wow.
And that dean followed him and his group through that entire period of time. That one little moment in time changed the trajectory of my entire family. Okay? And that's one of the reasons that I do what I do. I see what happens when people get involved in kids' class. And so I actually got a story of a situation just recently. A mentor got an email from a young man who he hadn't heard from in 12 years. And this boy had been incarcerated and been dealing with drugs. And the boy actually came up and said, "You're one of the people. I didn't treat you right back then. But now that I'm out of treatment, listening to your words is what's changed me." So our basic program has always been our standard community-based one-on-one mentoring. That's where the magic happens in our program. 4 years ago yesterday, we started our first lunch buddy program in Motley. And this was kind of an experiment for us. We kind of wanted to see what was going to happen. One of the reasons we did this is because in Motley and in Staples, it was kind of a newer community for us. We wanted to work closer with the school district. In 4 years, it's absolutely exploded, and we're serving 9 different programs. And we're really in a challenge as an organization to figure out where's the finance going to come from and how we're going to do this. And we actually really haven't had any staff time added to this. So the key to Lunch Buddies is this. We are working with school counselors and teachers. We're identifying kids younger, and of course, the younger you can affect these kids, the better chance of them staying on the straight and narrow. Anybody ever been to an elementary school and had lunch with one of your grandkids? You notice every kid wants to be a part of it. There are kids. The Crosby principal said to us that many of the kids, and really all of the kids that are in the Lunch Buddy program, don't have a positive interaction with an adult on any given day. And this is when they have it in school. And so what's happening is these kids are doing better in school, their attendance is better, their relationships are better, and we're also breaking down barriers where some of these parents in single-parent families are saying, we wouldn't mind them being in the program. It's also become an amazing feeder system for us for our community-based program. We're seeing probably 30% or more of our new members are actually coming through Lunch Buddies. And so this is a new thing for us. And one of our challenges right now is the financial aspect of it. We are working with the Initiative Foundation with a company called Network for Good. We're going through what's called a financial resiliency program. Network for Good does called Jumpstart. And actually, we wrap it up next week. We've been working, we actually have professional fundraising coaches. We've just completed our annual fundraising plan. It's going to take us some time to implement that. But one of the things that is going to be a part of that plan is our Lunch Buddy campaign that we're going to be doing in July and August. And this is an opportunity for us to get the message out to the greater community, not just Kinship donors. It's time for us to be talking about Lunch Buddy, recruiting Lunch Buddy vendors for the upcoming school year, and helping us finance that. And what we're asking is some challenge money that is going to initiate people in the community to get involved financially in the program, and hopefully get involved as far as being a Lunch Buddy. And the reason that I added this, and this adds a lot of information, it talks about Lunch Buddies inside, and on the inside here is our 4 different offices. We have Brainerd, Pequot Lakes, Crosby, and our Staples. And there are different stories in here But what I wanted to make a mention of is at the bottom, this goes out in January. January is National Mentoring Month with about 35,000 copies of this that go in all the local newspapers. And on the bottom, you will see a thank you that we're doing to everybody who is a Lunch Buddy supporter. So if the foundation chooses to do that, then they would be recognized in this, in the community in January as being as providing the challenge funds for this campaign. One of the things that we are doing, I know I'm running out of time, is one of the things that we're doing with our fundraising plan is actually trying to set up different sponsorship levels for businesses. So, for example, if Jim has somebody, and I know you have at least one person who's doing lunch, but actually I think she's doing double duty right now at 2 different schools. There's really no cost to the employer except that they're gone for their lunch hour. But we want to be able to approach a business and say, would you like to sponsor your employee? This is how much it costs for us to run the program for one employee, to be able to cover their meals, cover the staff time. And so that's part of the campaign that we're going to be ramping out coming up in July. Any questions?
How would you use our dollars?
Directly for the Lunch Buddy program.
Staffing?
Meals. It's basically going to be staffing, meals. There's some limited supplies that we buy because when they get together, what happens is the mentor comes to the room, gets the child, they go down, they have lunch together, they have some sort of a conversation starter that happens during that. And I actually filled in for someone about a month ago. And I picked up the boy, and we went downstairs, and we got the lunch, and then we had this little thing, and we had to fill out, okay, so what's your favorite color, what's your favorite food, list your friends. And so I asked him, I said, so tell me some of your friends' names so we can write them down. He goes, you. And I'm like, we met a minute ago. I said, no, list some of your friends. And he gave me 2 names of friends, and he said, and you. And you want? So that's just, these kids are hungry for this relationship, and to be able to get them engaged that young and work as closely as we are with the school district is just an exciting thing for the program and for this community.
Did you say what school we're going to do?
Motley Staples, which that's going to be merging depending on what happens with the boat over there and all of that. Pequot Lakes, we're going to be doubling that. Crosby, we're going to be doubling that. And currently we do the 4 title schools in Brainerd, which is Harrison, Riverside, Lowell, and Garfield. And of course, that's all going to, we're limited on the amount of space that the school has for us now. Once the school, is done with the projects, that's going to change. We're talking about Baxter, we're talking about Nisswa. We want to get into Pine River Backus. Those are areas as well that we want to move on.
Title 1 is it's based on free reduced lunch rates. So they are regional for it.
Mentioned like the evaluation would cover that. What's
Instead
that?
of every other week, it would be every week. So it's twice as many kids, but we're still have the same amount of space. We're just going to have more off. Okay. In people. That's what it looks like.
And your budget and materials that you're basically tougher challenge funding, is that?
Yes, absolutely. And this is a new program that when I started, I thought, this is going to take much time, it's going to create a lot of resources. And now that we've got 3-4 years under our belt, I'm realizing that my staff is actually putting as much time into Lunch Buddies as Jean did doing the regular program years ago. There's still the background checks, you still have the activities, you still have the follow through. And so that's just putting additional stress on the staff as well. And we're just trying to get caught up to create the financial incentive because, again, doing challenges and having this new database, we're going to be able to identify these people as donors, and hopefully they will continue to be supporters down the road.
You have sufficient volunteers to handle it?
We have a little bit of a challenge this time of year because people are going on spring break or people come down with the flu, but for the most part, we're okay for the space that we have. But it's definitely going to need to change. What we really need is more men. We have a tendency to see more women. We actually just got a law enforcement officer sign up to do one of the schools, and that's really exciting for us. So we're trying to get more men to be involved in it.
That's the sustainability of this program, of the programs within Kinship.
The vast majority of our funding is actually through fundraising events. Taste the Lakes is our biggest one. Taste of Pangana Lakes at Rutgers on April 26th. We have Persons for Partners on the 13th of April. We have the Chocolate Walk, which is our partnership with the Minnesota Chamber. So that's like probably 48% of our revenue right there. So grants for us is actually fairly limited. When I started 14 years ago, grants was 50%, and now it's about 28%. I don't want to be dependent on grants. I want to be able to raise support within the community, and business and individuals. So there's diversity in that. When I started, there was 2 ladies in the school, and now there's 3. Yes.
I'm sorry, we're out of time
I know.
though, so.
Thank you, David.